Look into the eyes of this man, like truly meet his gaze. Got it? Good. Now change the angle you're looking at the screen from, like just a little bit. Kinda looks like his eyes are moving around and following you, doesn't it? That striking sort of blue color they have isn't really helping, like they feel like they're always watching. Hey, could somebody edit this image so he's not looking at me like that? Huh. Funny little spinning hat, a lollipop, a smaller face compared to the size of his head. He's definitely attempting to look less threatening, but like that's some clear wolf in sheep's clothing stuff. You will never be that little dog on the Gmod map, I promise you. Hi again, guys, and those were pictures of one JD Vance. If you don't know because you're a foreigner or an American who never knows what the hell is going on in current year, JD Vance is right now the Vice President of the United States. Funny enough, the image of him with a lollipop and little spinny hat does sum up the responsibilities of an American VP for the most part. And the Vice President is only one of his many titles. He became the embodiment of the Leviathan, terrifying sailors across the Earth's oceans. He was mistaken as this British guy whose face just looks like that normally, no editing required, as there's nothing wrong with this man's face that would need an edit. He got turned into a worm faced with the terrifying question of would his wife still love him now that he needs to burrow through the dirt to live, and also ended up looking a lot like that one picture of Lil Uzi that I'm not sure many people even know, but I personally adore. I could mention a bunch of these, but to show you how many variants there are, JD Vance is currently the basis for an entire Guess Who spinoff. It's a lot going on all at once, and if you're out of the loop, you're probably asking, how did we get here? And don't worry, I'll tell you right now. But please excuse the next chunk of this video if it makes me sound like a liberal. I don't enjoy it either, but I gotta lib out a little bit to explain the context of these monstrosities. Last weekend, President of the currently embattled Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, made his way over to the White House to sign a weird mineral rights deal with the US that would give us some version of rights to the resources in Ukraine in exchange for continued support in their war with Russia. The details of that deal really are not important because when Zelensky was at the White House, it did not end up getting signed, and the whole trip did not go well for him at all. He ended up having to go mean girls back and forth with Trump and JD Vance in a weird 2v1 where they grilled him for like a bunch of random stuff. There were bigger things than others in there, but it did almost feel like an ambush. One of the reporters was even piping up to get in on the fun, asking, "Why aren't you wearing a suit in the Oval Office, Mr. President? It's disrespectful." A standard that doesn't apply to Elon Musk, apparently. And there was a lot of other dumb, how does this matter at all to this situation malarkey, but one of the standout moments was JD Vance scolding Zelensky for his manners?
You said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank you?
Have you even said thank you to America for being so awesome and cool? For sending all that money to you during the last administration that I wasn't even a part of and voted against? Even after I've talked about how little of a shit I give about Ukraine for several years? Yes, thank you, JD Vance. Fittingly, it's like his communication skills maxed out on how to properly scold a preschooler for being rude, but instead of punishing a kid for telling another kid to shut up because that's a bad word, the guy Vance was scolding is fighting for his country's right to self-determination and begging at the feet of America to please help him. The whole thing reeks of, you didn't say please and thank you to America. Zelensky has actually done that on numerous occasions, and after the conference, he was mass tweeting every country that's like ever sided with Ukraine in a kind of girl boss mood. I haven't decided yet if this is the type of pettiness I like or if it's just a little humiliating. It doesn't really matter. Point is, people felt Vance's demeanor to be that of a pouty child, and so they turned him into one. You should have said please, the caption reads as shit posters surgically add back all of JD Vance's baby fat. I find it so funny because he never even asked Zelensky to say please, it was all just extracted from vibes. It is my professional opinion that this whole situation is a direct consequence of alchemy not existing. The human spirit naturally yearns for a little homunculus that we can poke, prod, torture, and run our twisted experiments on. Like, what are homunculi for if not contorting into our image? In absence of the technology that allows us to do this stuff to ambiguous sacks of physical flesh, we've taken to doing this to public figures digitally. And JD Vance finds himself in the unenviable position of being a particularly contortable little creature. His face begs to be molded by an artisan's hand. And from there, the whole trend exploded. But it didn't happen or start all at once. The building blocks for this thing were set long ago. People have been editing images of JD Vance to have like weird proportions since Biden was still on the Democratic ticket. And I remember being confused when I saw Vance's official presidential portrait for the first time because it had no lollipop. Where did it go? go. He's supposed to carry that everywhere. There really were people in the trenches early on doing good work. For every 100 likes, I will turn JD Vance into a progressively apple-cheeked baby. And by God, did that man do it. He vandalized Vance's face so much that several versions that get circulated all over the place today came from the hard work that 7-Eleven Truther did in that thread. And this other Twitter account, not Jerome Powell, decided to steal that gimmick and make their own Twitter thread just a few days ago. For every 1,000 likes, I'll make JD Vance's face bigger. And if he did something creative with it, I wouldn't be too mad. I steal video ideas all the time. And it blew up, and what followed was some of the widest-ranging freebooting I've ever seen. Not only did not Jerome fail to make Vance's face bigger every time, on occasion it got smaller, but he didn't even make the images he did post. Copy and pasting a meme and putting it somewhere else? What's wrong with you? I'm pretty sure not a single Vance edit in Not Jerome's thread was a Not Jerome Powell original. You didn't do shit! Still, these threads do a good job of showing just how many of these there are, and I think it's a lot like Pokemon, in that every edit out there is somebody's favorite. There are folk who like him with questionably Chad features grafted onto him. Others liked it when they gave JD the Tobias Whale treatment. But I think mine and many other people's favorite has to be this one. This is the only Vance edit I've seen get that AI spinny microwave treatment. The ethics of that process may be dubious, but the tech to do it is accessible. So I think it says something that so far, this is the only one that's got enough traction to get spun like a Beyblade. I generally do not like generative AI, but you gotta give credit to the fact it decided to give JD Vance a bald spot on the back of its head. That wasn't in the original image. That was the AI's own free will making the choices. It just put that there and thought, yeah, that feels right. I think you can make an argument that other edits of JD's face do a better job of making fun of him or looking absurd, but this variant is the only one I feel a genuine unease when making eye contact with. There's an unspoken threat whispering behind its eyes as it stares at you, begging you to come closer and hear what it wants to say, only to have God knows what done to you when you take the bait, whether as revenge for what we've been doing to Vance's image or some other unknowable goal. And something about the way these images are perceived now versus before a week ago just feels different too. And there were hints of these side effects months ago, even pre-election, like the lollipop missing from his presidential portrait, stuff like that. It's like ever since this trend hit its peak, the sheer quantity of this one type of thing we've been pelted with has warped the way we see reality, as any good psyop does. In this case, the mimetic properties of what Vance's face is. You've got people who literally forgot what he looked like, having seen more images of his face edited into an anamorph mid-transition than not, as well as folk who see a real, confirmed, unedited image of JD Vance and can't tell if they are looking at an edit or not. This right here is a real picture of JD Vance. I guarantee there are no edits on this photo except a crop and a zoom to make him more visible. The thing is, I understand if you don't believe me when I say that. Like, how could I prove that to you? For all you know, I could be on like layer 5 of meta-irony where this is edited and I won't admit it because that's the joke. But I swear to you, on everyone's soul, yes, yours too, it's unedited. Watching clips from last night, I was confused who was standing behind Trump. That's JD Vance. No. Impossible. I've seen photos of him. I think I know what he looks like, and I don't know what he's on. That is clearly Vance behind Trump. Just look at him. A lot of people have even assigned a level of personal identity based on which JD Vance face morph speaks to you. It's often in generic terms like, one day you will see a JD Vance so fat it will alter the trajectory of your life, implying that the level of fatness is different for everybody, while others put an existentialist slant on it, which is where I find myself agreeing the most. JD Vance morphs becoming so abstract that eventually he will just be depicted as a circle, and somehow this will be the most devastating one. Some people had their brain infected by this mimetic hazard like a toxin, where they started seeing Vance edits in places where neither Vance or an edit even existed. Some people think beloved creator and pretty boy Maxor looks like Vance. Some people see his face in ancient artifacts, and those with experience in these fields know that even if some edits are so absurd they can't be real or even mistaken as real, at least one, if not a few of them, are just subtle enough to be unsettling, demarking something is wrong, but not insane enough to be clocked as fabrication by news media. On a completely emotionless note, some people saw a purely practical angle for these things. Everyone should make their own JD Vance, and we should use them instead of social security numbers. Sure, there's billions of unique social security numbers left, but it's still a finite amount. When we get to space, interstellar American citizens are gonna burn through that stockpile at light speed. JD Vance edits, though, they have infinite permutations, and they commemorate a part of American history the same way putting a president on a dollar bill or a coin does. It's just a lot funnier than any official memorials we've done before now. now. That, of course, still faces the issue of scalpers, hoarders who try to collect as many JD Vance image macros as they can and want to see the entire Vance shitpost economy crash. Some chump already started a meme coin called Please, which is, quite frankly, not a surprise at all. And it'll be even less of a surprise when somebody inevitably gets scammed by buying in. It won't be me, swear. And if you do lose money on that coin, I'm not going to say you deserve it, but you definitely have some personal reflection to do. But even beyond that, the rapid commodification of these images has been impressive for the scale and the time frame it was accomplished in. Outside the crypto stuff, we already have concept art for potential JD Vance emoji pack microtransaction. That's a feature which generally could be so lucrative. I'm surprised the powers that be haven't tried to nickel and dime us for user-generated emojis of Master Chief pussy farting yet. Taking it even further though, in ways I didn't know was possible, this thing has turned into a grassroots NFT. They basically recreated rare Pepes all over again, with JD Vance edits now assigned a speculative dollar value. This is a rare JD Vance. It happens only once in a few decades. Like and share for 99 years of wealth. You will never lack money for travel or trips. And they made him into a patriotic minion. This is the exact phrasing they used in 2016 for rare Pepes. And the craziest bit is that people across the political spectrum are enjoying all the ways you can sculpt the vice president into your own artistic vision. Given it's likely for different reasons, libtards are making fun of the guy because they think he sucks generally. Some probably have layers of irony to it, while certain chuds think it's a funny, ironic meme of their guy who takes it in stride because he's chill with it. That's actually a point worth mentioning, actually. Apparently, JD Vance has seen these memes already, as reported by people on the ground with him, and he finds them to be funny. The VP is perhaps more active on social media than even Trump in his first term. Thanks to behind-the-scenes footage, we know the way Trump often tweets is by speaking out loud and having somebody transcribe it and then pump out whatever he's thinking in a given moment without too much thought. But for JD Vance, though, I think he has more free time since he's the vice president, in that he is more directly in charge of his own socials. Like, he has access to them, and he's probably the one reading tweets about himself and typing replies with his own figures. We've got the confirmation Vance has seen the edit and thinks they're kind of funny, and the vice president is a guy who retweeted very haughtily a tweet calling him soft, taking the time to beef with a random Twitter account named Jeff Computers, dropping his name directly. The gray check that identifies a government official is still jarring to me, but it does make posts like these uniquely funny in a way that the blue check mark was never able to, even when it still meant something. Now, as a fellow presidential figure, let me give you some advice, JD. All this internet shit, you gotta stop. Looking up your own name on social media as a public figure is terrible for your mental health. Please take care of yourself, man. On the other hand, feel free to keep looking at your indirects, as the fact that Vance is so chronically online as a politician makes it a non-zero chance that he's seen somebody I know do a gag by adding him. And for those with real political power and journalistic integrity, like Connor the Pants Eater, asking for JD Vance to hop on for a conversation while playing Fortnite seems pretty plausible to me in my fantasy land. Now, a fascinating side story of this whole thing for me is this is the only time I've ever seen trickle-down economics work in practice. The stuff being done to Vance has had a direct downstream effect on the rest of the Trump administration below his level. The guy who comes to mind first has to be Kash Patel, whose unedited original portrait is prime real estate for this sort of thing. Bro looks like a deer in the headlights. He's sitting there wide-eyed like he's surprised to see you on the other side of the screen, and people have already commented how he seems to gaze into your soul with worry before. But now he's got his own face edits in the recent gold rush of them all. Various other politicians have gotten the same treatment, receiving a few drops of water from the flood that Vance has been getting in. But I say this is trickle-down economics because the water truly only seems to flow one way. Vance has gotten almost all the shine from this, where he is on the top rung. He's the 1%er who owns the most real estate and rents out to everybody else. And that includes, strangely, almost none of it going to Donald Trump. The one guy who's above the VP on the command chain gets none of the sauce. And I mean, if you think about it, Trump's already considered a memeable guy. Why wouldn't similar things be done to his face as to Vance? I haven't even seen it in images where Vance and Trump are pictured together. It's only JD who gets inflated big and round. Trump's face remaining normal can serve as a control group to contrast, perhaps. Could it be that Donald has been in this position so long it doesn't have the same charm to do to him? Does JD Vance's position as the new guy make him an easier canvas to paint on? I'm not really sure. The directions this could go are endless and remain to be seen. I'll be sure to keep you updated of any major developments in the future, but in the meantime though, I'd like to make a small pitch to you guys. I kind of want to do more videos like this one. Kind of been hitting on like a lot of American political adjacent topics recently, mostly the shitpost angle of it all, but I want to look at the absurd context around other public figures. Like, I want to make a Xi Jinping video really bad. It wouldn't be strictly about my politics, though the broad strokes would probably get through the same way they do in all of my videos. There's just a realm of absurdity with some of these people that you can't fathom. We're too insular. We need to look out to the rest of the world. I'm gonna wrap this video up here. If you guys enjoyed, the card on screen will take you to another like it, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you never miss an upload. Anyways, this has been Kwite, and I'm probably never gonna hear a new Playboi Carti album before I die.